You're listening to an audiobook from Empower. This is the book Dare to Start by author Manh Cuong. In the printed version, there are various calculation templates that are not included in this audiobook. Please support the author by purchasing the printed book through the link below in the description. Thank you. Part 2. ROAPMAP. Most people love to watch football, and almost anything in business can be represented in a match. Imagine you are the coach of a football team, and you are preparing your team for the match. What will you do? Let me guess. You will probably take out an A0 sheet of paper and draw your team and your opponents. What else will you do? You start analyzing. What are our strengths and weaknesses? What are our opponents' strengths and weaknesses? Then you draw a strategy on that piece of paper, arrange the team, and decide who should be in what position to be most effective based on your own and your opponent's strengths and weaknesses. Let's say your opponent is strong in attack, but weak in physical strength. You will probably come up with a 3-step strategy. Step 1. In the first half, defend tightly and set up a defensive formation, launching the best defenders onto the field. Step 2. At the beginning of the second half, play with the opponent in the middle to let the opponent lose strength. In the middle of the second half, when the opponent is tired, launch the key strikers into the field and focus on attacking. Actually, I do not really want to talk about football here. We talk about entrepreneurship and developing a business model. What does that mean? Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. So, these are referred to as strategic steps. Do the strategic steps have to be very specific? Not always very specific. These steps should basically tell us the direction and goal to be achieved at each step. In the example of the football game above, each step has a clear goal. Step 1, defend with the goal of protecting the goal box and tiring out the opponent. Step 2, play with the opponent with the intention of weakening them. Step 3, attack. The aim is to score a goal. Basically, whether we are in business or not, we must always plan ahead of time before partaking in anything. We know that the biggest difference between high achievers and underachievers is the ability to think long-term. In Chinese chess, the biggest difference between good and bad chess players is the ability to calculate a few steps ahead. Someone once said, "Poor people think in days." They want to work and spend their earnings on the same day. What can they do earn quickly? Driving a motorcycle, taxi, or something like that. However, the well-off people think in months and years, the rich think in decades, and the elite think in centuries. So, if we can train our minds to think further, to think a few steps ahead before we act, we can help ourselves take a step forward in our finances. How? Create a basic roadmap that shows you how to get from your current location to specific sub-goals step by step. Those small goals will gradually lead us to the vision. So what do we do? 1. Define your vision. Think far ahead. 2. Define small goals to help you get there. Take small steps. Memorize this phrase, think big, take small steps. Many people mistakenly believe if I set a goal, it must be very large. Let's say there is a person who has a monthly income of only $200, but tells me that he has a goal to save $4,000 by the end of the year. Let's assume it is April. He only has 8 months left to save $4,000. That means he needs to save approximately $500 per month. So he has to multiply his current income by 4 to reach his goal. That is an unrealistic goal. So you should not set big goals, right? That is not what I mean. You should have a big vision, but your goal has to be realistic. You should have a big vision, but the goal has to be realistic. Let's have a vision of saving $40,000 per year rather than $4,000. But let's start now and save $1,000 until the end of the year, or a little more to add the pressure of $1,200. In this case, there are 8 months left and the current income is $200 per month. A big vision is necessary for constant motivation to strive, but the goal must be realistic in order to succeed in small steps. Success is a collection of small wins. Using the vision drawing you created in part 1 of this book, list specific basic goals that must be achieved to make your vision a reality. Where should the first step be? Should you start a business right away or work as a hired worker to gain experience for a few years? If you want to gain experience, what is the purpose of gaining experience? I know a person who went to Korea with the goal of doing business, but he started working as a taxi driver. How so? He drove a taxi for 2 years, specializing in the area where he intended to trade. During those 2 years, he mastered everything about the traders and how to move around. Who buys what, who sells what, where the goods are sourced. After 2 years of driving a taxi, he started to trade a little bit to learn more, and then he established a company that imports Korean goods to Vietnam for sale, then became one of the most knowledgeable people in the Korean toy industry in Vietnam. Imagine if he went to Korea and started trading large containers of goods right away. How risky would that be? Work strategically to achieve a specific goal, which will gradually lead you to your big vision. Which person should I begin with first? Should you start alone, or should you have someone with you from the very beginning? There are always advantages and disadvantages to any decision. For me, working with others has the following advantages. 1, you will have a team to work with, so the commitment and motivation to work will be higher than working alone. 2, the workload will be divided so that each person can focus on what they do best. Example, I am not a detail-oriented person, and I am grateful to everyone who has supported me since the beginning of Empower. They helped me a lot with their detail-oriented and monitoring skills, allowing me to focus on my strengths, which are on vision and operational management. 3, you will always have someone to talk to about any problems. This is critical because wisdom often flows when we converse with someone. 4, the risks are also shared. 5, you can begin with a larger starting capital than you would if someone else joined you. Of course, to get the above benefits, you will also have to. 1, split the profit, if there is any. At first, startups often have little profit. 2, you cannot always do things your way, but you have to reach an agreement with the team. This is often the biggest obstacle and requires maturity to let go of the ego in order to work with others effectively. 3, you must hold meetings, communicate, and occasionally argue. 4, one of the most dangerous points when working together is the effect of no leading elder in-house. It sounds like a joke, but it is always true when a lot of partners are involved in a business with equal shares and voices. So, I always advise my students, never invest in a 50-50 ratio or with 5 men each accounting for 20%. Because if the ratio is equal, there will be many opinions, but all opinions have equal weight. So the decision-making process will be very difficult. A lot of startup teams end up divided simply because every opinion counts. Therefore, there must always be one person who holds a higher proportion and has more influence over the group's decisions. That person will have more responsibility and control, which also means a larger share. Important things to consider when searching for startup partners. Aside from the necessary skills and vision, what you need to pay attention to most is the commitment to the vision. I would say it 1,000 times if I had to. Never start a business with or accompany someone who is not committed. You will not get anywhere. If you work with people who are not committed, they will become bored quickly and give up halfway. At that time, they will greatly affect your emotions, your spirit, and the rest of the people. Never start a business with someone who is not committed. Because the 3 most important characteristics of a successful startup team are commitment, communication, and unity. We often say it as make pledge, speak all, and stick together. In it, commitment, or to make a pledge, is the key factor that motivates the entire team to communicate or speak all, be transparent to each other, even if it takes a lot of time. Commitment is the key to fighting for group unity, meaning to stick together, although it might feel easier to go separate ways. Please help my husband. He just acts only when being told. A friend of mine called me when she was arguing with her husband. All of a sudden, she rented this house and opened a shop, while I had no idea what she opened a shop for. And now she says I am irresponsible and indifferent to work, the husband shared with me in frustration. Without knowing and without understanding, there is no ability to possess ideas. That also means no high level of commitment. In order to save their marriage, my two friends had to close their shop because they had launched their business from the wrong starting point. Selling the shop was an act to stop losses before they became larger. After about a year, this couple opened another restaurant that was more successful and had a happy marriage. If you are working on a team or looking for people to join your team, make commitment a top priority. Besides, while working, you may lose anything, but do not lose unity and communication. I will explain the strategic partnership triangle further in the risk management section of the chapter, Milestone 12. 3 steps for creating a goal roadmap. Step 1. Make a list of everything you believe you have to achieve in order to make your vision a reality. Do not worry, you will not be able to list them all. Simply list it, think about it, and list it. In the course of action, you will add or subtract. Step 2. Sort goals into priority order. Which goals need to be achieved first, and which ones need to be achieved later, so that once the first goal is met, the second one will be much easier to accomplish. It is like the saying, you can't run before you learn to walk. Step 3. Provide a roadmap for achieving the goals. This is a visual roadmap drawing. Print out a roadmap of your goals and hang it up. It will remind you of what your next goal is and encourage you to be more consistent in your actions. What are the factors to consider when setting goals? The Bible is a precious book that teaches us about strategy. In there, one of my absolute favorites is the book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah was a brilliant strategic leader. In his book, he teaches us a lot about building goal strategies. From Nehemiah's leadership lesson, I have learned the following suggestions for what you need to achieve your strategic goals. For every successful goal, you usually need the following elements. If any of them do not apply to you, disregard them. Resources S6M. 1. Support. Whose support or permission do you need? 2. Men. Who do you need and how does the human resources system function? 3. Materials. What materials do you require? What is the source of the goods? Who is the supplier? And who are the partners? 4. Machineries. What equipment do you require? What machines and technologies are involved? When is it needed? When should you buy? 5. Methods. What skills do you need? Which method? What is the secret? What procedure? 6. Minutes. How much time approximately do you need to complete your goal and when should it be completed? 7. Money. How much financial potential and money do you need to have? Sometimes just missing one of the 7 factors listed above can cause you to fail in front of your competitors. Take a look at Grab to see what they did with these 7 factors. Example, Anthony Tan's Grab mobile technology taxi company. 1. Support. Family, owner of Tan Chong Motor, Malaysian government support first for technology taxi promotion. 2. Men, Hui Ling Tan, co-founder, technology developers. The number of individuals working as drivers, other taxi companies' drivers. 3. Materials, personal cars, local taxi companies. 4. Machine car booking application. 5. Methods, a new taxi booking method inspired by Uber, Carpool, car sharing, MyTaxi, Anthony Tan, and Hui Ling Tan's own booking model. 6. Minutes must enter the market before Uber and Gojek dominate Southeast Asian user habits. 7. Money. Harvard University's investment, MyTaxi, family investment money, investment funds of Vertex and other investors. The S6M model described above is the most important thing to consider when setting goals, because sometimes instead of running around a lot to get one customer, you just need the support of an influencer to have thousands of customers. So, if you have read the book Currency War by Song Hongbing, you have probably heard of the Rothschild family, the Jewish family who influences the world's financial system. They succeeded because they made finding support for themselves their top priority. They have also established the most intimate diplomatic relations with Europe's and the world's most powerful royals, according to Song Hongbing. Look out for the key people who have a voice in communities, both online and offline. Your business model will become much easier to implement with their support. Establishing supportive relationships should be a top priority if you are launching a large-scale business model. Summary. 1. Think far ahead. Take small steps. Success is a collection of small wins. Set specific and realistic goals measured in numbers. 2. Always have a roadmap with clearly stated goals. a roadmap outlining the goals to be met in a given time frame. 3. 7 elements of the S6M model to help you set a target and avoid missing the key points. 1. Supports. 2. Men. 3. Materials. 4. Machineries. 5. Methods. 6. Minutes. 7. Money. 2 actions to take right now. 1. Organize your business model goals and create a roadmap to determine the next steps. 2. Print it out and hang it somewhere in your organization where everyone can see it.